And I think they're going to be better than they were a year ago. Part of that is based on, I think they've got some ease with their schedule like they had a year ago. The AFC South is kind of like the NFC South. The NFC East is 2 good teams, 2 bad teams. I think they, just kind of the way it fell in terms of the annual cycle that the NFL schedule has, I think they caught a break there. And
they're playing a third-place schedule once again.
Yeah, and then we did run through it game by game, and there were only a couple of spots that I was like, that's a bad one. I don't love, and we'll get to them game by game, but I don't love the late November trip to Washington, and I hate the Christmas night game in Kansas City. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty fair schedule, and I thought they caught some breaks. So before we go game by game, I'm feeling like I'm going to be 12-5.
Well, what's funny is I have said, and you were giving me crap in the first hour, but it looks like I'm right. I've said the Broncos can go 12-5 and win this division because KC's going to go 11-6. So it looks like if your prediction does land on 12-5, then you better get on board with this whole they can win the AFC West thing.
I haven't decided that I believe the Chiefs are going to go from 15-2, which could have been 16-1 if they needed the last game of the year, to 11-6. And I get that they had a bunch of smoke and mirrors
We'll
wins.
see how many Dark Magic wins they have this year.
But I think they could fall to 12-5. I think they could fall to 13-4. That puts them within striking distance.
All right, let's do it. The Broncos, if you missed it, and I know a lot of folks are just tuning in right now. We are still with you till 8 tonight. Week 1, they get I think it's going to be a laugher. They get the Tennessee Titans here. Titans were terrible last year, number 1 overall pick, probably a rookie QB in Cam Ward. I have the Denver Broncos, no shock, starting 1-0.
Me too. I think this is a 35-10 type of a game. You get off to a great start.
My exact score from an hour ago. I love it. I'm flattered.
You get off to a great start. Bo Nix throws his first ever Week 1 touchdown. I think it's a confidence-building type of game. I think the defense plays really well. I think the offense plays really well. This is one of those games heading into it, Will. We will have a hard time figuring out a formula in which the Broncos lose. Yes. And I know that's easy to say in May, and I get it, but mark my words. What's the date of this game?
September 7th.
Okay, we'll be doing this show on September 4th or 3rd or whatever that is, and we will be saying, I can't see a way that the Broncos lose this game. Guarantee you. So I got them at 1-0 as well.
I'm trying to see, if there's a number out on this game yet. What do you think the number would be on this game?
I think this might be the biggest. I think it might be the biggest number of the weekend. I'm going to go 9.5.
We don't have enough time to go through all the numbers, but I do have the Broncos number here, 7.
Okay, well, it's smaller than I would have thought.
They're only a touchdown favorite. Colin had 7.5. Actually, you know what? You want to see if there's a bigger one week 1?
Far be it from me to give investment advice, but
7 feels low.
It does.
The only other one that is tied for as big, the Commanders are 7-point favorites over the Giants in week 1.
I think there's a better chance the Commanders lose that game to the Giants.
Oh, gosh.
Division rivalry game.
No.
Russell Wilson's debut. I think that's I wouldn't say it's a coin flip, but that game's closer. Week 1 is weird. every year, Will, and you know this as well as I do. There's a week 1 result that makes us go, what? How on earth did that happen?
Well, it's usually the eliminator pools where
exactly.
You only have to pick a winner and like 80% of the people get wiped. It's like when the Bengals lost to the Patriots.
So to me, the best chance of that week is the Giants beating the Commanders, because unless Sean Payton has his team totally unprepared and they Nathaniel Hackett the preseason, which they will not, they're not going to let Tennessee come in here and win.
No, I don't think they're going to lose to Tennessee either. Week 2, they go to Indy September 14th. The Colts obviously gave the Broncos a pretty good game last year, but I think their quarterback situation is jacked up. And to me, Indy looks like a prime regression team. I think the Colts could be pretty bad this year. Give me the Broncos.
This is a tougher one for me because that game last year stuck in my head. Week 2, Jonathan Taylor hasn't gotten hurt yet. It's Indy, they're a better team than I think maybe we're giving them credit for, but I don't think that's all that tough a place to play given the fact that that team's just not what it used to be. I'll take the Broncos here, but that's one I may change as we get through it.
All right, he hems and haws a little bit, but he also has Denver getting to 2-0. Let's do the Chargers in week 3 in SoFi Stadium. There will be a lot of Broncos fans in the house, but guess what? Broncos haven't really had a lot of success against the Chargers, at least in the Sean Payton era. Really frustrating Thursday night loss game in that building last year. I don't want to, but I'm gonna. I'm gonna take the LA Chargers in this game, James.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Russell Wilson go in there and win in person. Fun trip to SoFi.
Oh, gosh.
But I don't think the Broncos win this game either. I'm with you. I'm taking the Chargers.
All right, so we are 3 for 3 on our picks so far, and we have the Broncos at 2-1. This is a fun one. It honestly made my favorite game of the year. They will host the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football, an epic rematch of a game last year that was so much fun other than the final result. Broncos still should have gone for 2. I maintain it. But Empower Field at Mile High is going to be bananas. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman. James, how many millions of people are going to watch this game? 20?
Yeah, I haven't seen the full Monday Night Football slate yet, but that's got to be one of the better ones of the season. Has a chance to just be a shootout. They very easily could be a 30-27 type of game. I don't think the Broncos are going to go undefeated at home, so I got to find somewhere I think they're going to stub their toe. I think they lose 2 in a row. I'll take the Bengals.
Oh, I think that Cincy defense is going to be really bad. I think Bo Nix is going to have a field day, much like he did against the Browns last year. And I think the Broncos defense can make enough plays to knock off Joe Burrow and get some revenge against T. Higgins. We have our first disagreement. I've got Denver getting to 3-1.
Okay.
All right, next up, they go to the Eagles to play the defending Super Bowl champions in Week 5, which both you and I like in the grand scheme of things. It's not the opener. It's not December. So they got a shot here, but we also saw an East Coast trip to Baltimore last year go very sideways against a top-tier team in the NFL. I can't sit here and in good faith pick the Broncos to win this football game. I've got them dropping 2-3-2.
Yeah, and it's when you're picking games in May, we'll look back at this and when it rolls around and maybe have a different perspective based on, hey, Jalen Hurts isn't playing or Saquon Barkley isn't playing or whatever the case may be. But right now, we're assuming both teams fully healthy. Denver falls to 2-3. It's a 3-game losing streak for me.
Oof, that would not be fun after a 2-0 start. You're going to have to make up some ground to get to 12-5, my guy. All right, the Jets in London. Set your alarm clock, 7:30 a.m. local kickoff, much like we had against Jacksonville a couple of years ago. The Jets stink. Justin Fields is their quarterback. The Jets are going to stink for a long time. It doesn't matter who they put in there. London will be kind to the Broncos once again.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the Broncos will be looking to snap that losing streak. They're a much better team than the Jets. Not having to play at the Meadowlands actually is a break here. You're going to be playing essentially in front of a neutral crowd. I mean, when you go to one of these international games, you'll see a fan, and this is no joke. We played this game. You can find a fan wearing a jersey from every team in the league.
Oh, you count all 32?
All 32.
It
was a fun game. The Browns were the last one we found, but it's a fun game to see who's going to be last. So there will be some Jets fans there. There will be some Broncos fans, but it's basically a neutral crowd. Broncos win this one, get to 3-3.
All right, then they do not have the bye. Everyone assumes you have the bye after international. The Broncos don't, but they basically get a bye because the New York Giants are coming to town. We'll see if Russ is the QB or if they've moved on to Jackson Dart. But the Giants are going to pick number 1 next year in the NFL draft. In my eyes, I think they're like a 2-15, 3-14 type football team. Broncos cruise in an absolute laugher.
I agree. I think this is a game where...
I thought you'd pick Russ.
No, I mean, if he's playing at this point, which it won't be his fault if he's not, if he's playing, I think it's a close game. I think it has some intrigue. I think it would be really interesting. I wouldn't want number 3 to have the ball down 4 with 2 minutes to play.
Why? He'll probably fumble and the Jets will scoop and score it down the sideline.
But I do think that this is a game the Broncos win. I'm so far, I'm kind of going chalk, right? Like, they're at the Chargers, that's probably a loss. They're at the Eagles, that's probably a loss. And the Bengals, they were basically dead even with them. So if I'm going that route, there's no reason to pick the Giants in this game. No.
Well, that's the only game we disagree on. So that's why, at Cincy, so that's why I've got them at 5-2 and you've got them at 4-3. All right, we'll keep it moving. The Denver Broncos will host the Cowboys on October 26th. I think the Cowboys are going to be terrible as well. I think Jerry Jones doesn't know what he's doing. I think they should have hired Deion Sanders and not Brian Schottenheimer. I think the Cowboys are like a 5-6 win football team, and I think the Broncos put it on them.
I would agree. I do think, though, given the time of year, this will be a spot where Broncos fans will make up some money. There will be a lot of Cowboys fans in the stands. I don't think it's going to matter. They won't have a lot of opportunities to make any noise. Denver's better than Dallas. Give me the Broncos.
All right, so you now have them at what, 5-3?
Yeah.
And I've got them at 6-2?
I had the 3-game losing streak early, but Now they're on a 3-game winning streak.
All right, tricky game, week 9. You got to go down to Houston. Listen, I know everyone says, well, Houston plays in a terrible division. They do. They do play in a terrible division. But D'Amico Ryans knows what he's doing as a head coach. C.J. Stroud had a little sophomore slump and then kind of rebounded nicely towards the end of the year. I don't know their wide receiver situation. I think they took 2 kids out of Iowa State, so they're going young there. Diggs is gone. Tank Dell, I don't know what his health is like these days. But I just think the Texans are a well-coached football team. I don't love that you have to go on the road. That's your only road game. This is interesting. 4 of 5 at home in this stretch. The only road game you got to go to Houston. I'm going to take the Texans in this game.
Yeah, it's the only road game after the 10-day road trip where they're in Philly and then go across the pond to play the Jets in London. I'm going to disagree with you here. I think this is a coin flip game. And, I went with the Chargers in what is kind of a coin flip game. I went with the Bengals in what is kind of a coin flip game. I think the Broncos make up for it here. I think they go down to Houston and beat the Texans.
All right, so we both have them at 6-3 now. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, we are trending toward a playoff berth, which you gotta like. We're just getting there a little different route. What week is this? Week 10? This graphic isn't big enough. Sorry, I need to get my eyes checked, or they could make their graphics bigger.
I just added 6-3 and knew they hadn't had a bye, but whatever.
Good point. It's the Raiders. Thursday Night Football here in Denver. Your first of 2 Thursday night games. Get a lot of Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit in your life. I think the Raiders are going to be better, James. I do. Pete Carroll, Ashton Ginty, Max Crosby, Brock Bowers, Geno Smith's a better quarterback than they've had in a while. But they're not losing at home to the Raiders on a Thursday night. Give me the Broncos.
All those things you said are true. You think back to, Gardner Minshew had a chance to go up 17-3, and then he throws the interception at the goal line that turns into a 100-yard pick six for Pat Surtain. It's a 10-10 game. Denver goes on to roll. It's one of those turning points in a game, perhaps a turning point in the season. I don't think it's going to be that kind of a game. I think the Broncos win this one. I've now got them winning, 5 in a row to get to 7-3.
Wow. Okay, we both have them at 7-3 before the biggest game of the season to this point, and that's the Chiefs coming here in Week 11. Oh, I think the Chiefs are coming back to earth. Down to earth, so I do. I'm going to pick the Denver Broncos to get to 8-3 going into their bye.
I love everybody's optimism. I do think the Chiefs are going to come back to the pack a bit. But the Broncos have lost, 15 out of 17? And one of those was a game in which the Chiefs literally did not try to win the game. They wanted Denver to win to keep Cincinnati out of the playoffs. They didn't try to win the game last year.
And I believe Patrick Mahomes had the flu in the other. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I am going to go with the Chiefs here. It's not mission impossible. I do think this is the game at the end of the year we will look back on and say that's where the AFC West was won. Unfortunately, I think it's the Chiefs that get it.
All right, so going into the bye, you've got them at 7-4. I've got them at 8-3. They come out of the bye and have a really interesting, fun Sunday night football game. Get your popcorn ready. Whole country will be watching Bo Nix versus Jaden Daniels in Washington.
I think the fact that they're coming off a bye is great here. I don't love the time of year being in Washington. Weather could be a factor. It certainly makes it less of a fun road trip if you're going as a fan. You're not going to, a little tough to go see the monuments and the sites when it could be a snowy, dreary type of a weekend. But I think the fact that they're coming off the bye bodes well. I'm going to take Denver in this one.
Wow, okay. I've got the Commanders. I'm a big Washington believer. They were one game away from the Super Bowl last year. I think they'll be in a similar position this year, and I give them the edge for being at home. So we are both even at 8-4.
I think that I'm with you. I like the Commanders. I do. I think Jaden Daniels is a star.
He's the guy I always wanted. I'm really happy with Bo Nix, don't get me wrong, but he's the guy I was slamming the table before that draft. Now, getting to 2 was never realistic, but in a perfect world, I did want him as the Broncos QB.
I do think they're a team, though, that is set to regress a little bit. I think they'll be a playoff team, but do they go 12-5? No, I think they're a 10-11 win team, and it's because of these kind of games.
All righty, then you go to Vegas. James Merilatt is upset about the timing of this game because he can't go to the pool on December 7th.
This is correct, yes.
In Las Vegas, but Broncos and Raiders said it a bunch, say it again, a lot of orange in the stadium at Allegiant that day. I think they sweep the Raiders once again and get to 9-4.
I would agree. The Raiders, had their number for a while.
For way too long.
That turned around last year, so I think that is going to continue. The things you talked about, though, with the Raiders, of Pete Carroll now being there, Geno Smith, Brock Bowers, Max Crosby,
Ashton Genty.
Yeah, there's some talent there. This one's a little scary to me. This one sets up of oh my gosh, classic trap game. Because after this it's the Packers.
Correct.
So you got the Packers at home the following week. You just won a big game in Washington on Sunday Night Football, right? Everybody's going to be watching.
Well, I have them losing that game, to be fair.
Okay, so I have them winning. So I think that sets up as this could be a trap game, but I'm still going to take the Broncos. This one, though, maybe the game that makes me the most nervous because I basically have them win all the games they should win, and I'm going about 50-50 on coin flips. This is a game they should win. It's the one, do you stub your toe type of games to me.
All right, the Packers will come here on December 14th. A lot of cheeseheads, we think, but we hope that's not the case because they do travel well. They buy tickets. But if the Broncos are 9-4, as we both have them, hopefully folks aren't selling their tickets to Green Bay fans. This is the toughest one so far to me, James, but I just got to go back to what I saw at training camp last year. I think the Denver Broncos were a better football team than the Green Bay Packers. Therefore, I think they are going to beat them to get to 10-4.
I agree. I think Jordan Love is a good quarterback. I don't think he's great. I think at this point he's overrated because a lot of people consider him a top 10 quarterback for sure. Some have him as a top 5 quarterback. I think that's just grossly overrated. I think the Broncos win this game.
All right, well, we both got them at 10-4 before Jacksonville comes here a few days before Christmas. You and I both agreed this was a gift from the scheduling gods because Jacksonville is going to be bad. It will be fun to see Travis Hunter, our beloved Heisman Trophy winner, back in town, but this game isn't going to scare me. I've got the Broncos getting to 11-4.
Yeah, this is another one of those games that, hey, we'll see what happens and where each team is at and what injuries look like. Trying to predict this game right now is, kind of an exercise in futility. But there's no reason right now to say the Broncos won't win it. So, yeah, I have them going to 11-4.
And then it's the big one, the one that James laid out of why he dislikes it so much. And you don't always make sense, but you made a lot of sense on this one, James. The Broncos got a rough draw, Kansas City, Christmas night in Arrowhead. Eat your Christmas dinner in front of the television and buckle up for what could decide the AFC West if we're both right and have the Broncos going in there at 11-4.
Yeah, they'll be right in the mix, right? And they'll, according to the way I've picked them, they've already lost to the Chiefs. They lost the game here in November. So now they got to try and get the split to win the AFC West, which I don't know how you can win the AFC West without splitting with the Chiefs. I don't. So that's why the game in November is so huge. I just think this is a terrible spot to have to travel and play on a short week. It's an honor to get to play on Christmas night. I get it. But, boy, does that put you at a competitive disadvantage in a game that probably will determine the division and the second week of the season. I think the Broncos go in there. I think they'll give a valiant effort, much like they did a year ago. But I think they lose and fall to 11-5.
Well, I don't think a 35-yard field goal will get blocked this year because Kotwika is gone, the special teams coordinator. Broncos kicking will be a lot better. And, James, it's a gift from St. Nick. I've got the Denver Broncos beating the Kansas City Chiefs, ending their streak of 9 straight AFC West titles, and going to 12-4 on the season.
I hope you're right. I mean, that would make Christmas night just as good as it could possibly be, right? I'll have eaten my dinner 4 hours before you guys because I eat it while it's still daylight out because it's Christmas dinner. You eat it during the day.
Yeah, that's what you do on Thanksgiving.
You're going to be eating
Christmas.
with a plate on your lap, apparently, in front of the TV. Which
tell your family that dinner has been moved to the TV room.
That sounds really festive. But I just don't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right. I don't think it's mission impossible. We saw last year they can compete with this team in Kansas City at Arrowhead. I just can't say that they're going to go in and win on a short week. If it was on Sunday of the same week of the year, you could probably talk me into it. I just think getting the bad draw of the short week hurts them here. I think they fall to 11-5.
So I've got them beating the Chiefs twice. You've got them losing to the Chiefs twice. That's our biggest difference here.
Yep.
And I think that kind of speaks to our philosophical differences on where the Broncos are at, where Kansas City's at, and where the AFC West is at.
Yeah. No, okay. So you've got them going 2-0. I've got them going 0-2. Let's just split the difference and say they split with the Chiefs. Well, that would put me at 12-4 here, put you at 11-5, so we'd be at kind of the same spot. Either way, it sets up for a huge Week 18.
Massive Week 18 with the Chargers coming to town either January 3rd or 4th. We'll see where the NFL wants to flex it, either that Saturday or Sunday. But if they're 12-4, I said that, they'll have beaten the Chiefs and won the AFC West. What if LA rolls into town at 12-4 or rolls into town at 11-5? And you've already lost them once, which I have them losing in Week 3 in SoFi. What scares me here is a potential emotional letdown coming off that massive win against the Chiefs, because I do think human nature, hey, you beat the Chiefs on Christmas, you win the division. Not so fast. Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Maybe that Chargers game is then for the division a second week in a row.
Based on where we both have them, I have them at 11-5. You have them at 12-4. If they're 12-4, I don't know how this game isn't to clinch the division. I know that you have them sweeping the Chiefs at that point. That would give them the tiebreaker. But do we really think the Chiefs are going to – I mean, the Chiefs could be going to this game, whoever they're playing in the finale, probably the Raiders, at 12-4 as well, right? So you're going to be scoreboard watching. That's probably a game Kansas City's going to win. I think no matter what, because I'm sitting here looking at 11-5 going, well, do I think they're 11-6, 12-5? It depends on if this game means anything. Well, we have no way of knowing. So based on the fact of where their record is and where we think that'll put them in the division race, where we think that'll put them squarely in the wild card chase, I think it clearly will have some meaning. They've got the extra time after, getting shafted and having to go to Kansas City on a short week on Christmas night. Well, now they got 10 days to prepare for the Chargers. I have them losing earlier in the year in L.A. I'll go with the split against Jim Harbaugh and company. Gets me to 12-5, as I had predicted.
Well, it would be the Penner Bowl, and we had Harbaugh and Payton twice last year. Jim got the best of Sean both times. Of course, there was those reports that the Penners desperately flew to Ann Arbor to try to hire Jim Harbaugh kind of settled for Sean Payton. I don't think anyone's saying they settled anymore because Sean's been very good. But at some point, Sean's got to beat Jim, right? And he's got to prove Greg and the committee right that, hey, you guys still did get a good coach. If he goes into this game 0-3 in his career against Jim Harbaugh, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to finally get it done. It maybe not the career, but at least as Broncos and Chargers head coaches. And I think they get it done because I don't think you have all that momentum from beating the Chiefs and then squander it against the Chargers. I've got the Broncos winning and going 13-4, winning the AFC West and being, the 2 seed in the conference playoffs, the 3 seed, heck, maybe the 1 seed if everything breaks right. I think it's going to be a really good year.
I think at 13-4, they're in the running for the 1 seed. I think they're going to be better. I can talk myself into this 12-5 that I just put together. I think they're more likely 10 or 11. I do. You get a couple of those games that I had them win in that, at Washington, that certainly could be a loss. I think 13-4 is a little overly optimistic, Will. I do. I think this is a team that's going to compete for the AFC West if the Chiefs come back to the pack, which I do think they will. But I don't think this is a team that's quite ready to make the leap to compete for the number 1 seed. I will say this, though. And last year, the Broncos had the playoffs on the line when they played the Chiefs in the last game of the year at Empower Field. But it wasn't even a preseason game. It was because one team was playing their starters trying to win, and the other team wasn't playing any starters and was trying to lose. I've seen much better preseason games. This will be one of the more exciting home games in a long time. Because I do think whether it's the Broncos and the Chargers competing for the AFC West or it's the Broncos scoreboard watching to see what the Chiefs do that day, I think there are going to be division championship implications here. It's going to be a raucous game. I'm going to stick with my 12-5. I think that's on the high end of what they'll get to. I know you're only 1 game more than me. But, dude, 13-4 sounds elite. 12-5 sounds like, that's a pretty darn good year. The Commanders were 12-5 last year. I think the Broncos can pull that off. Who was 13-4? Were the Eagles 14-3 or 13-4? That just feels like it. I know, again, it's 1 game, but boy, that's a big difference. No, it's like 9-8 is a big difference from 10-7. 12-13, I think 10, 11, 12 is kind of 1 tier. 13, 14, 15 is another tier. I don't think they're ready to make that.
So the Bills were 13-4.
They're not as good as the Bills.
The Chiefs were 15-2.
Okay.
The Eagles were 14-3. The Lions were 15-2. Those are your teams that won at least 13 games last year.
Do you think the Broncos are in that class?
I'll tell you next. Plus, my 5 most intriguing games on this schedule. We'll see if James agrees or not.